Yo, what up, guys? What up, guys? It's your boy, the Foodie Filmmaker, back at you with another episode of the Foodie Filmmaker Podcast. All right, we are back in the studio. And as you can see, I got my water here. Gonna take a sip. I am running on no caffeine today. Well, actually, I did have a coffee earlier in the morning, but Siri, why are you turning on? Anyway, no. Anyway, I got a coffee. I got a nice coffee in the morning, but the coffee I usually get here in Pasadena, for some reason, it never hits, or maybe my tolerance has just gone like way up here that it just doesn't affect me anymore. But regardless, I don't feel it, and I'm actually kind of tired, a little sleepy, I gotta say. But I'm here. I came to do some work here in the office, in the co-working space here in Pasadena, co-founding space, founder space here. And I decided I wanted to do the podcast. I wanted to throw in an episode here. Now, I actually didn't plan anything. I had no topic because in the last episode, I don't know if you guys saw it, but in the last episode, I did say that the next episode, it was going to be a live. So I was pretty much going to go live and pretty much, whatever you guys wanted to ask in real time, that's pretty much what the podcast was going to be about. But I actually didn't really plan on coming here today. It just kind of just happened just because I had a little bit of work to work on, and this is probably the best place for me to come here because it's an actual co-working space. It's like an office, so I get to sit down, I get to chill. Everything's great here. The vibe is really good. It's very quiet. Me being an introvert, I love this place because it's quiet. Nobody's really talking here. Everybody just comes here and just kind of works on their stuff. So everybody brings their laptops, they bring their phones, whatever, whatever setup that they got going in order to get work done. That's basically what happens here. And everybody's just pretty much doing their own thing in their own little world. And that's what I love to do as well. So I come here and I do the same thing, right? And so every time I come here, I always try to do an episode because, the studio's already here and might as well, but it doesn't always happen just because sometimes I am limited on time, so I can only just come here, just get the work that I need to do, get that done, and then pretty much I got to leave and got to go shoot something or do whatever I have to do out here. So yeah, but today I was here and I was like, you know what? I should just do an episode. I should just keep it consistent. I should get something in. All right, so before we begin today's episode, I want to ask you guys to head over to Instagram and type in tff.podcast. That is the official Instagram of the Foodie Filmmaker Podcast. And the reason why I want you to go over there and follow is because for the next episode, I'm actually gonna go live there. I'm gonna let you guys know, obviously through my foodie Instagram as well, at the Foodie Filmmaker, and that one. I'm gonna let you guys know exactly at what day and time next week I'm gonna be going live, so I'm able to answer you guys' questions through the podcast. So when I sit here in the studio, I'm gonna hit live. And then you guys can pretty much tune in and ask me anything, make your comments, whatever you guys want. So I'm going to be uploading the time and day right there on that Instagram, and I'm going to share it on my personal as well. But so make sure you guys follow that so you guys know. And I'm going to be going live in that specific Instagram, tff.podcast. Not my Foodie Filmmaker one. I'm going to be going live on the tff.podcast Instagram. So make sure you follow that way. When we do go live, for some reason you miss it or something, you'll get notified when I go live, and you guys can tune in there live and ask me anything you want. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and begin with today's episode. And so today I kind of just want to talk about, what's currently happening. As you guys might have seen in the last episode, I told you there's a lot of stuff going on here in LA. It's pretty crazy right now. And a lot of the restaurants, it's been getting a little crazy because some restaurants, they're losing their employees because their employees don't want to come out because they're scared of what's going on. They're scared of getting caught and taken somewhere where they have really no idea where they're going to be taken. But they're just scared to be separated from their families and being taken away unfairly. And so a lot of the employees are just not showing up to the restaurants. Some restaurants are completely closing because lack of employees. If there's no employees to make the food, there's no employees to take orders or anything like that, then unfortunately the place has to close because sometimes the owners themselves cannot handle doing all the work. And perhaps they are on the process of hiring, but as of right now they just don't have anybody to help them out. So unfortunately, they've had to close down a lot of stands. Unfortunately, stands that I've personally worked with, they're just disappearing. They're not popping up, or they've unfortunately been taken away, and it's kind of saddening to see that happening, and it's still going on. It just doesn't seem to really have an end as of now. It's just pretty much it's a continuous thing that's going to be going on for, I have no idea really. I wish it would just come to an end like right now, but unfortunately I have no idea. So all we can hope for is that things do get better at some point. But yeah, so besides that point, I spoke about it more in the previous podcast. So if you want to go and hear about all that, you guys can go watch the previous episode. But with that said, with these times and situations, especially being Hispanic and being the ones that are affected the most here, like I really want to talk about like how do you really stay positive? How do you really stay like consistent and still continue doing the work that you need to do? Because, in times like these, it may be hard. It may be easy to really fall into a downward spiral. You start to see things on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram. You start to see all the things that are happening out in the world, and you're pretty much just like, damn, like it's crazy out there. And you start to feel a little bit down. You feel like you just got a lack of energy. You don't feel as motivated, as excited anymore to do what you need to do as a creator. And precisely as a creator, it's something that could really affect you, because creativity really comes from it's an emotion, right? So it's something that based on how you're feeling, that's really going to affect your creativity. So if you're in a good state, if you're positive, you're really pumped and you're feeling good, most likely your creativity is going to be really good. It's going to be at a good level. But if you're not feeling great, you're feeling a little sad, you're feeling a little upset of what's going on currently, or it might just be it might be a personal thing as well. You might be going through something right now in your life that's affecting you. You're not feeling well. You're feeling a little worried, sad, upset, like I said, depressed. You might be feeling stressed, and you're just not in that headspace, right? You're emotionally not feeling well. You're mentally not really there. And so how do you actually get back into a good state where you're able to start creating and start doing things, to start really stay on track as far as like whatever your goals are? Because I'm pretty sure like when you're in a good state, when you're motivated and stuff, you have your goals, right? You have the things that you want to achieve. You got challenges that you set up for yourself along the way in order to make yourself stronger, make yourself smarter, and grow as a creator and as a person. And I'm pretty sure you got a lot of things going on, right? So you have a lot of things set up, and so you got those things. But then when you start to feel a little bit down, you kind of just start to kind of slack on those, and you kind of just start to say like, hey, you know what? It's not a big deal anyway. And you start to like skip things here and there, and you just don't want to do them anymore. And you're like, oh, well, I'll just do them whenever I feel good again, whenever I'm in the zone, like whenever I feel motivated, whenever all this passes, I'm going to do my comeback, right? And for the most part, sometimes that is what you need to do, like I've had to go through that myself. Like sometimes I go through a rut and I just don't find the exit. I'm just down, and that really goes on for days where I'm just down. I'm just not really in the mood, and it really affects me, and I go down hard. Like I might go like 2-3 days without doing anything. I might be just completely unproductive for those 3 days. And yes, to some degree, before I used to feel pretty bad about it, because I was like, oh my goodness, like I gotta stay productive, right? Especially if you're into like the whole personal development industry and all that stuff, really involved in that. Pretty much, it's always encouraged that if you have the knowledge, if you have the personal development know-how, usually you need to find, usually it's supposed to be a little bit easier, right, to get out of that rut, or not even fall in it to begin with, because you're part of the personal development like community, right? You're part of the whole, the whole group, right? Like the whole I can't find the word right now, but you're pretty much part of the whole community, right? You're part of the whole thing there, and so because of that, it's supposed you're supposed to be like one of the like special ones, right? That doesn't really get affected by any of these things because you have the answers, you have the corresponding techniques and everything that you need in order to counter these type of situations where you might feel down, you might feel stressed, you might feel lazy. You always have like that counter of like personal development, right? If you feel down, really, whatever, exercise, right? Or go and read some affirmations that are positive affirmations that are going to help you get into a better state, right? Or like go and like read a book or listen to music or do something like that, right? So you always have like some sort of counter as a personal development person, right? But sometimes even as a personal development person, you still get hit with something, and sometimes it is tough even to get out of it. And something I've learned over the years is that the best way to really combat that is to really just accept it. Really hone in those emotions and really let it sink in and let yourself really experience all of that instead of trying to fight it, instead of trying to be like, oh, I don't want to feel sad anymore. I don't want to feel upset. I don't want to feel this way anymore. You just kind of give into it and you say, you know what? I'm just going to allow myself to feel what I need to feel right now. So if you feel sad, just allow yourself to feel sad. Don't fight it. And the thing is that when you allow those emotions to really live inside of you, they actually go away much faster because you're allowing them to be there. You're not judging them. You're not repelling them. You're not telling your emotions like, hey, go away, you're bad. Like you're really teaching yourself that, hey, every emotion is valid. Every emotion is fair. And that's really what makes you human at the end of the day. It's not like you want to be like this emotionalist person that has no soul and that never feels anything and that's able to continuously just feel neutral all the time, where you're able to just work all the time and just never feel like you need to take a break or you're just unstoppable, right? Like, because trust me, I've done that. I've tried to be that. And it's very hard to do that, really, because like eventually it catches up to you. If you don't really address those emotions and you instead suppress them and you try to ignore them and you try to just work through it, you try to go and do work or you try to do something else in order to distract yourself and not feel those emotions, then what's going to end up happening is that eventually you will implode, you will explode, you will feel all those emotions come right at you all at once. And believe me, that is not good because bad things happen when that happens. All right. Unless you have the know-how, unless you're a personal development person that's able to detect that implosion coming through, you're able to detect that there's something really bad coming. There's a bad avalanche coming your way and you're able to prepare for it. Then we can minimize the damage. It's still going to create some damage, but if you're not a personal development person and you have no idea it's coming at you, then this could really lead to something really catastrophic. Either you're going to implode and you're going to cause tremendous amount of damage to yourself, or you will create that damage onto others. And so nobody wants that, because nobody wants you to create any harm for yourself or go out there and start creating harm for other people. That is just not good. So that's why I tell you, please address your emotions. So whatever you're feeling angry, you're feeling sad, whatever, just acknowledge it. Let it be. Be angry. Obviously, if there's emotions such as anger, that could possibly affect the people around you, then isolate yourself. That's something that I personally do. Like every time like I'm not in the zone, I'm not good, I may feel sad, I may feel angry, I just isolate myself because I don't want to I don't want to implode, I don't want to cause any harm to anybody. So I'm just going to go and let my emotions be on my own. So if I'm angry, I'm just going to go and be angry by myself. And I'm not going to be mad about it. I mean, obviously I'm already mad. Why am I going to be twice as mad, right? So pretty much, really that's one of the things, one of the really key elements, one of the key strategies in order for you to really come out of that, So whatever you're feeling, currently right now, whether it's because of the situation that's currently going on or it's just something personal right now going on in your life where you're feeling any negative emotion, really emotions that can really stop you from being creative, such as being sad, depressed, having anxiety, being stressed, being angry, stuff like that. All these are emotions that are really going to hinder your creativity. So in order for you to really come out of that, you really have to address them. So first of all, obviously let them be. Second of all, address them. So figure out like why these emotions even exist in the first place. Like what caused them. Is there a specific cause? Is there something that you need to look forward to, something you need to address? Is there a person you need to confront? Is there a situation you need to confront as a person? Maybe you need to stand up for yourself. Maybe you need to face something that you've been avoiding. Maybe you need to push yourself to the next level and you just haven't done so. Maybe you just need to come to acceptance of something. Whatever the case may be, you just really give it some thought and know what course of action you need to take afterwards in order to address this emotion. But for the most part, just address it and let it be. And so, yeah, that's pretty much something that I've been doing, with everything that happened. It just kind of hit. And that was pretty much like last week. So last week, I wouldn't say it was an unproductive week. Obviously, I still got done what I needed to get done. Whatever was necessary, I still did it. But I didn't really go beyond of the necessary, which I normally do every single week. I usually try to push myself and do more than what I need to actually do just to, stay ahead, stay consistent, still push myself, keep things interesting, challenge myself, grow, because all those things are important to me. So I try to get those done every single week in every way that I can. Obviously, there are times where it just doesn't happen, but for the most part, I try to push myself as in whatever area that I can, as much as I can. But last week, I was a little bit down just because of what was currently going on. It was most of the things were happening all around me. So like I told you guys in the previous episode, it was like a front row seat type of deal, right? Because I'm in downtown, and so there's a lot of protests going on over there, and there's a lot of raids going on in the surrounding areas. And I've been traveling, like I said, due to the work that I do. So I get to travel to different cities within LA. And it was just saddening to see that, most of the cities in LA are being affected by this, and it's just crazy. And so, it kind of you hear it here and there, people talk about it, wherever it is. I jump on the train, I hear about it, I go somewhere to eat, I hear about it, there's TVs in the restaurants, and they're playing, videos of what's currently happening, and it's just like everywhere. I get home, I hear more about it as well, and it's just everywhere. It really is everywhere, and so it could be kind of overwhelming to some degree, and it really was for me. So it kind of affected me creatively wise, because I just I wasn't really in the mood to really go out and create any content. I mean, I still did, because like I said, I've trained myself, and this is something I speak about in a different episode, but I teach you guys how to actually train yourselves to really get things done and really go out there and create content, even when you're not in the mood for it, even when you're not feeling it. Sometimes it is a responsibility, such as is for me, because I'm a social media manager. So I manage accounts, I manage restaurants. Look, these restaurants have nothing to do with the way that I'm feeling. At the end of the day, with the restaurants, it's a business transaction. So they pay me, and I have a job and a duty to comply with. And so I have to deliver whatever it is that I promised, because they have made the payment. So from a business perspective, I really try to operate in that way. So if it's that way, I really try to see it that way, and I try to really deliver whatever it is that I need to do, and I make sure I do it as best as I can. And I really try to ignore the way that I'm feeling at the moment, just because I know that feeling that way and really bringing that up and giving it the spotlight is not going to help me, be creative. And so I'm kind of used to it already. It's not like it's the first time that I'm affected in a way like this. Obviously, it's the first time that something like this happens in LA and stuff. But other than that, I've had other personal issues where it does affect me in a similar way, where I just feel sad. I'm not as happy. I'm not, I'm upset. I'm angry. I'm just stressed. I have anxiety because of something here and there. And so all of these things can affect you as far as like being creative and going out there and creating content in a way that's going to be effective and it's going to come out nice. And so the thing is that at the end of the day, first of all, like I said, you got to train yourself. So go and watch that video, go podcast. So go and watch that podcast episode where I teach you guys how to really do that. I believe it was the one about creativity and like I think it was about motivation. So I believe it was actually the first episode that I filmed in this studio actually, where I spoke about motivation and if you really need motivation in order to be a good content creator. And in there I speak about how you don't really need motivation. What you really need is discipline, and you need to have a strong purpose as to why you creating content in the first place. And if you do have that, you have a strong reason. Like for me in this case, I want to become a really great content creator. Not just a normal one though, but I want to become something different, like a unique content creator here in the city of LA, representing downtown Los Angeles, and I want to do it in the best way that I can. And so that's what I'm currently working at, and I want to be the best social media manager that I can be as well. So that's why even when I'm feeling down and when I'm not feeling all that great, I'm still going out there and I'm still creating the content that's necessary in order to comply with in order to deliver to my clients whatever I promise to deliver, and always giving them even more. For them, I do over deliver. But yeah, like I was saying, I wasn't really in the mood when it came to my growing my own brand, my own page. I actually didn't really record anything. Now that I remember, I think I might have recorded like one video that last week, and that was pretty much it. Like everything else was just, I was just creating client work pretty much. Like I did create other videos, but it was all for my clients. And I might have posted some on my page, but that was just like me collaborating with my own clients. And sometimes I do that, just so that my page doesn't just go blank all of a sudden. So that's pretty much something that I did that day. And that worked, for that week, and I pretty much accepted it. Halfway in, I was like, you know what, I don't think it's gonna happen this week. As much as I enjoy doing what I do, it's just not gonna happen this week because my mind and my heart are not really all there. They're really mostly in what's currently going on. And I was really just trying to, see how I can, if I could help in any way as far as like what was going on, and just really just paying attention and trying to learn as far as like what the situation is and where do we currently stand. And I was pretty much just focused on that and really worried about my parents as well, because, they're really the ones that are being targeted here. Like I said, even regardless, even citizens like me, are being like detained and stuff. So even that was kind of a little bit crazy to see. And yeah, but anyway, not to get into too much detail as far as like that situation here in LA. You're probably watching here. You probably don't even live in LA, so maybe it's not too much of your interest. You probably come here to watch a podcast about being a foodie and being great at being a foodie and stuff like that, and what it's like to live in the foodie world. But it's kind of affected a lot of the. It's intertwined. It's really kind of connected to the foodie community here because, like I said, there's employees from restaurants being taken. There's vendors right from the streets just yanked away. It's saddening to see because, you see the owners get yanked away, and so they leave their entire setup there as far as like, whatever they're selling, their whole setup is just there. It's just like it looks like out of a freaking movie, like a horror movie, where you just come in somewhere and everything looks like it looks like there was people there at some point, and then like everyone just vanished, like everything, like it just seems like people were like doing something right, but there is no people. So it's like it's a little bit weird, like what happened to the people, like is this all like set up, but like there's no people. And so like that's pretty much how the scene looks when these street vendors are being taken, and it's just horrible. Also, like like I said, I work with a lot of night markets, and a lot of vendors are not showing up because they're scared that they might get taken. So, the night market game is not as strong right now, and there's not many of the night markets are open, and the ones that are open, they don't have their full roster of vendors showing up. So it's definitely affecting as far as that goes. But this week was obviously a lot better. Like I said, like eventually, I last week I pretty much accepted it and I let things just run their course. And this week, has been a lot more better. I've actually managed to do a lot more collabs now, and go out there and film, and being able to do what I can, and just helping out here and there, and really trying to stay connected with the community and seeing where I can help, wherever I can. And so that's pretty much what I wanted to come out and just talk about here. Something a little quickie here, as far as like something motivating, something really inspiring. Like, yeah, that's pretty much how you come out of that. And as far as like keeping the positive vibes, obviously, you always want to stay positive. You always want to think positive. You always want to think that, I would really leave this till the end, after you've done all the other stuff, after you've you let everything sink in, you've processed everything, you let the emotions kind of run their course, and then you've thought about what the source of the emotion is, and you've decided to go and address that. And once you've done all that, then we can really focus on adding some positivity, because before that, you kind of don't want to, because like it's just not going to penetrate really. Like, you can try to mask it, like I said, you can try to suppress it and just think positive and try to do positive things. But if you're not really letting those emotions run their course, you're not really addressing whatever is causing those emotions, then what you're really doing is suppressing. Like I said, eventually it's going to implode. So you don't want that. You want to first address that, let everything process, and then you can start adding some positivity. Once you've done that, get into the positive vibes, start doing positive things, start doing positive action, really. So whatever it is, so start moving forward, like, creativity wise, if you're a foodie, you're a food influencer, you're an influencer, you're a creator, whatever it is, just start creating. And if you just have no idea what to create, start from something simple, just in order to get the wheels going. So whatever content that's the easiest for you to create, just go out there and just create that, and then just kind of start getting into the rhythm again of recording, of filming, taking pictures, whatever your form of content is. Start getting into the zone of it, start getting into the flow, start doing little by little, start doing here and there. You don't have to do anything like amazing, obviously, right off the bat, but just get something done. And then, from there you create another piece of content, another one, and then you just kind of just start going back into it, start getting back into it, and start obviously, you want to stay positive as far as like the people that you hang out with and you talk to. You also want those to be positive, because what they say, you are the 5 people that you hang out with the most. And so whoever the 5 people are in your life, you want them to be telling you positive things. You want them to be positive. You don't want these 5 people in your life, the ones that you're closest to be telling you negative stuff all the time and trying to bring you down and always bringing you bad news and always telling you bad things and bad scenarios, and always like it's always negative energy and negative vibes. You don't want that. You want positive people. You want people who are on at least some course of action that's positive. Like, obviously they don't have to be like completely like successful or be going for like really big things, but even though that could help, if you need people to push you and to become greater, right? But at the end of the day, whoever your friends are, you just want them to be chill, you want them to be cool, you want them to be in the positive vibes, and you always want to be pushing each other, to become better, and so that's really what you want at the end of the day. when it comes to like the people that you're talking to, in order to keep everything positive, positive environments as well. So, whatever environments that you're going to, always try to keep them positive. Like for me, I spend most of my time in restaurants, so I usually try to go to restaurants where, the vibes are cool. Usually, for the most part, the vibes are pretty much cool when I go to every restaurant, especially since I always do the research before I even go or even accept any sort of collab or anything, right? So I always try to like, do the research and see if this is a nice place that people are enjoying and having fun with. Because if I see that that's not really the case and like people are not leaving like good reviews or they're not having, good experiences there, then I probably won't go, because I don't want to go to somewhere where it's going to be negative, where like the owners are going to be like talking to me and giving me resistance and talking to me in ways that I don't really like it. Like I want to go somewhere where it's going to be cool. It's going to be fun. I'm going to be excited to try the food, and the owner's like really nice to me and breaks down everything for me and gives me everything that I want and goes above and beyond, and really at the end of the day respects me, because respect goes a long way. And believe me, respect can really really bring a lot of happiness to you if you are working and being around people who actually respect you. Because if you're around people who don't respect you, then it's just, it doesn't matter how many nice things they tell you and whatever. If they don't respect you, if they don't respect your boundaries, if they don't respect who you are as a person, they're always like crossing lines and like doing stuff that they know that you don't like, but they'll do it anyway, then those are not the people you want around. You want people who respect you at the end of the day. And so respect, like I said, it goes a long way. If the owner respects me and they respect what I do, then I'm going to respect what they do, and it's going to be a great time. It's going to be good vibes. But if there's not mutual respect, then it's not going to be a good turnover there. And so we don't want that. But yeah, that's pretty much, And like I said, this could be due to personal issues. This could be because of what's currently going on. This could also be just because of what's currently going on with the foodie industry as well. Like there's a couple things going on. Like maybe you're asking for collabs, you're not getting them. Like me personally, like I've seen like some social media managers and companies that used to invite me to go and do collabs at their locations, and now they're not. And I can tell because I see other fellow foodies going, and I'm not invited. I'm not being able to do those collabs, and it's a little saddening. And some of these companies, I've met the owners. I know who they are. I know they know me, and they're just not inviting me. And to be honest, it's kind of upsetting, really, because one specifically, I don't want to say who it is, who this social media company is, but I've actually helped them a lot. I've actually gone to most of their places, and I haven't charged them at all for going to these places. And some of these places are not even close by; they're a little far. So I've actually had to spend some money going there, and I go and I try their food, and sometimes I don't even get that much food as well. But because it's their company, and they're a pretty respectable company as well, because I've seen the roster of clients that they have, and it's pretty impressive. And they're just not inviting me, after I've done all that work for them in the past. And sure, in the past, it's not like they really were willing to even collaborate with me. Like I pretty much had to reach out for the most part and like ask them to, let me collaborate. And, to some degree, at first I would say that if you're building a relationship with a social media company and you want to collaborate with their spots, sure, at first it's okay for you to, ask them if you can collaborate, if you can, be part of the whole foodie network, where like not only do you collaborate once with one of their spots, but they actually open up their full social media client list, and they're like, hey, we're working with these other restaurants. Would you like to work with any of them as well? And they also keep you in mind for any future clients that they get. You'll be part of that list where they invite you, right? Unfortunately, it's not happening anymore. I've also had other social media companies that I worked with in the past that used to send me email invites, and I think I've been removed from that email list too, and it's just crazy, because, for me, like, as far as like the clients that I have, every single really every single influencer that I know, I always invite them like to every single place that I'm able to work with. I've always invited them. I've always had them come through, and if they have a fee, I've always tried to cover their fee as well. And it's crazy, because like, to me, I value every single influencer that's out there. I've always been a big fan of this. Like I said, I'm a big fan of like the foodie industry. I'm a big fan of what everybody does. And so because of that, I am a big fan of every single person out there, individual that's trying to make food content, and they've taken the time to build out their page and go out there and make content. And I think it's great. I think it's cool. I really love every single one of those people that does that kind of work. And so for me, I've always like loved to have everybody. Obviously, there's some foodies that I've invited and they've told me that they don't want to do it. But in that case, that's up to them at that point. I've already done my part by sending the invite. If they don't want to go, whether it's because of distance or they just don't like the clients that I'm working with, that's completely respectable. If they don't want to go. But I've done my part as far as like sending the invite. But some social media companies, and I'm pretty sure you know who you are, they just haven't sent the invite. And it's like I said, it can be a little bit upsetting, it could be a little bit sad. And maybe you as a food influencer watching this, and you're like, yeah, me too, they used to send me invites, they used to let me collaborate with them, and now they just completely ignored me. And I feel you. It happens. Sometimes these social media companies have their reasons why they decide not to collaborate with you at the end of the day. And I just don't understand what they could be. I mean, I could have a few guesses, but I don't know what they could be. But at the end of the day, like, I feel like every single person out there could bring an impact as far as like, what they do, because everybody knows someone, obviously. And so, yeah, maybe their follower base is not as huge, but everybody has someone they can influence in order to go and, buy whatever the thing it is that they're promoting on their page. Everybody has at least a few good amount of fans. And so, I'm pretty sure that the place itself, whatever it is, whether it's a restaurant or it's a company that's selling the product, I'm pretty sure they'd be happy to have at least 10, 20 extra customers coming in from that one person that maybe you give them like a few samples, you give them a few samples, or they had an invite, they took a few dishes, whatever, and in return they had like 10 customers come through from that single piece of content. And I'm pretty sure they would appreciate that business. But unfortunately, sometimes it's not the owners, the ones that are in control of who comes to the restaurant and who doesn't. It's these social media companies that decide at the end of the day who's going to go and who's not. And, that's really how it is. It's kind of like a gatekeeping type of deal here. But I would never do that. I would never gatekeep. I would always let any single influencer, you already know me if you're watching me, and you've been invited, that you're always welcome to come back to if you ever want to come back to any of my clients. And if I haven't invited you, then that means that I just haven't found you. So if you want to collaborate with any of my spots, definitely send me a direct message on my Instagram at the Foodie Filmmaker, and I'll make sure I'll send you a good list of the clients that I work with, and you could always come through to any of them. But yeah, like, it's just crazy. And so, things like these happen in the foodie community. And so what do you do about it? You could, like I said, for me, on my part, it's a revealing shock, just because, like, like I said, like, I've always been out there for the community. I've always been willing to help out and be part of it. And now, like, I get to see how my other fellow foodie friends go out there and do these collabs while I don't get an invite, to do them. But at the end of the day, it's whatever, it's a collab at the end of the day. And you don't always get invited to the party. And to me, that's okay, because, like, eventually, there are other parties, there are other companies that may see your potential, and they might invite you, they might not invite the other people, because, everybody's, at the end of the day, some stuff is meant for you, some collabs are meant for you, and some are not. But in the case that, you don't get invited, who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? You know, you can always go to the fucking restaurant. You can always go and buy the damn product and review it yourself. And you can tell them to, fuck off at the end of the day, because, you can always just go and do this on your own. It's not like I've done that myself. There's some places where I just haven't gotten invited. I just go in and buy the thing myself. And sometimes the thing is actually pretty good. So I'm like, damn, they're gatekeeping a really good place. Or sometimes I'm just like, damn, this place sucks, particularly with that company that I'm telling you, that big company that I'm telling you. They have some pretty big clients. They belong to a very similar category, I would say. And you can't even tell me that they're choosing people that are close to that are more likely to. They're not choosing influencers that are likely to have an audience that might buy that product, because I've seen invites. I've seen influencers getting invited that have a similar audience to mine, and they get invited, and I didn't. Well, that's up to them. That's their loss. Like I said, I might even go and try the thing myself. I don't care. But like at the end of the day, stuff like this happens. You get rejected by social media companies. You get rejected by restaurants themselves. They don't want to collaborate. Some of them, you give them their fee and they say, no, thank you. Well, then no, thank you as well, because what do you expect? Like, I'm giving you my fee. Especially me, like, I'm pretty fair with my fee. It's not like I have like an overblown fee where it's like it's exaggerated. I've taken the time to really think about my fee, and if I'm charging you a fee, pretty much it's not even going to be that high. It's going to be very, very fair. So if you try to really lowball me from what I'm already offering you, then it's definitely not going to happen, and you can go F yourself, because it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen unless you really let me know, like, why, unless there's a very good reason why you can't cover the fee, or like, there's a very valid reason, then I might just, cave in. I might just do the whole thing for free. It's not like I'm opposed to doing any free work, but it just really depends on what the scenario is and what kind of situation is. Because yes, I am a good person. I am a person that's humble as well. And I like to help out the community. I like to do good things, and I like to help out restaurants wherever I can. But at the same time, I'm also a business person. And so I'm ready to make deals. And, if you're not ready to make a deal, then, it's just, business is business. And if you're not able to afford a certain thing, then unfortunately, it's just not going to happen. Because that's just how business is. It's not like you can't really, there's things out there in the world where, the price is fixed, and if you can't afford it, you just can't afford it. And you can go in there, you can talk your way into it as much as you want, but they're just not going to lower the price for you, and there's just nothing that you're going to be able to do. And so at the end of the day, business is business. And so there's the business aspect to it, and then obviously there's the human aspect to it, where, like, if I feel compelled to go and help you out because there's something that I'm moved by and it's a genuine thing, I'm genuinely like willing to do something for you for free, then I'm going to go ahead and do it, because it's coming out of my heart. It's coming out of it's really something that I want to do, because it's something that I'm feeling, then I'm going to go ahead and do it. But if it's not, then I'm just not going to do it. If I see that you're all about business, then we're going to treat this as business. And if we're not able to agree on a deal, then we're just not going to be able to agree on a deal. We're just not going to work together. And that's totally fine. But so that's pretty much it, and there's many other things that happen in the foodie community, but these are just certain things that have been happening lately. So I just kind of wanted to, talk about that and just kind of get that out of my chest there. but yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Trying to keep this one short, even though it went on for like 40 minutes. And so, but yeah, so yeah, I mean, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching this episode. Thank you for tuning in. I really hope that hopefully next week, because I will be back here next week, hopefully next week we're able to do that live session, that live podcast, 'podcast where I go live on my Instagram at tff.podcast. TFF.podcast. Yeah, that's really the username on Instagram. So I'm gonna go live there, and you guys can pretty much ask any questions that you have as far as the foodie community goes, or anything personal, really. Whatever you guys want to talk about. You guys want to ask me questions as far as things that I've gone through in my journey as a foodie, or just in general in life, or you guys want me to break down something. You guys want me to explain something to you guys. I'm more than willing to. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Yeah, so make sure you tune in there. And as always, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.